Welcome back to East Coast Bias. And guys, the stage is set. We have the Eagles and the Chiefs, the second time in 3 years. They'll be matching up in a little over a week down in New Orleans. House, I'm going to start with you on this one. I have been hammering the Chief fatigue over the last few years, right? Like, I bet against them last year. I bet against them 2 years ago. I rooted hard for the Eagles. I rooted hard for the Niners. I don't know why I feel this way, but maybe the idea of them going for the three-peat, matching up with a team that lost a heartbreaker to them 2 years ago, that has Saquon Barkley in the fold. People who are out on this Super Bowl matchup, I don't get it. I think the game's going to be fantastic. I think the Eagles are live. We all know what the Chiefs can do at the end of these games. Sorry, I got to be that guy. People are like, I'm out. Oh, I'm sick of these teams. I'm sick of the Chiefs. House, I think this could be a tremendous Super Bowl. I really do.
I don't know any of those people. I don't know anyone who's out on this. I mean,
I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot over the last few days.
These are people that hate sports then, because this is an opportunity for one franchise to establish a level of greatness that's never been seen. Like, I don't understand the idea of that kind of challenge for anybody that calls themselves a sports fan. You're not interested in that. You don't want to see greatness. You don't respect greatness. I mean, all of the things that are in front of the Chiefs are legacy defining. It's like, you know, a proper dynasty. We had it with the Patriots. I never got tired of the Patriots' excellence, and I'm down here in Washington, D.C.
That's one of you. I sure did.
I never got tired of it.
This is an AFC East guy.
I rooted.
JJ.
Let me tell you something. That Eli Tyree moment at the Super Bowl. Listen. I'm not a Giant fan. I'm indifferent. I don't like the Giants. I don't hate the Giants. They're kind of just there for me in New York.
Yeah.
House, I rooted for that Giant team in that Super Bowl like it was the Yankees playing the World Series. Okay, When Brady got sacked by the big guy Alfred, I was doing laps in Syracuse, New York. House. So that's one of you at least.
Like, respectfully, that's what folks that call themselves sports fans that might say, "Oh, I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs every time." Then go root for the Eagles. It's fine. You're like, you know, it's going to be an incredible matchup. I think that these two teams, you know, have legit claims to being the best teams in the NFL. I mean, you know, Detroit on paper with their offense, and Baltimore on paper on both sides of the ball. But, you know, those teams aren't in this because they couldn't handle the leverage at the highest crucial moments, Dream. So it's an incredible matchup. I love it. I'm thrilled for this outcome.
Yeah, I'm with House on this. And I've always been a believer that parity is overrated. I don't like to see those Super Bowl teams who just creep out of nowhere and then the following year we're 8-8 and 7-8. I like to see the best of the best. And I want to see if anybody can, you know, achieve greatness and achieve history. And if there's another team who can stop them from achieving history. So I do like this matchup. And I'm never going to get tired of Patrick Mahomes. I never got tired of Tom Brady. At the end of the day, it's either, you know, you're rooting for them or you hate them. And I think that's a great storyline.
All right, gents. We have the line. We have the total. The early props have been released. Raheem, you put this in our group chat, and I think it is absolutely positively worth mentioning. You said to us, quote, I think the wrong team is favored in this game, but we all know what's on the other side of that equation, where it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's get down tonight, Travis Kelce. It's the Chiefs that know how to do this. So I look at the game, and I'm not ready to pick it yet. I'm not. Like, I'm not there. I think it's a really, really tough game to pick. I know it's going to sound crazy. It's a really tough game to pick because I saw James Cook in Buffalo have success running the ball on the Chiefs. And I think about that Eagle offensive line, and I think of the dominance of Saquon Barkley and the way he has dominated the regular season, the way he has dominated these playoff games. Ram game, enough said. Starting the Washington game with a 60-plus yard touchdown run. Saquon has been amazing. It's been the year of the running back. So we have a line. It's Kansas City by 1.5. You think this line fair or foul?
I think it's foul. I think the Philadelphia Eagles should be 3 to 3.5 point favorites on a neutral field here. And I know that sounds extreme, but I've had the Eagles power rated higher than the Chiefs all season long. And look, the only reason why this line is what it is because of Patrick Mahomes. And I think you do have to respect that. So I'm not going to be laying points with the Philadelphia. I mean, I'm not going to be grabbing the Philadelphia Eagles as underdogs. But what I would recommend is playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the first half. If you look at each of the Super Bowls in which Patrick Mahomes has played in, he's been down at the half in all of
He's
them.
always losing, Raheem. I witnessed you watching the game with you in the desert last year. House, I had a first-hand glimpse of our buddy Raheem live betting the Kansas City Chiefs. I saw him do it in the casino.
And every single year, I always tell people, we're playing the greatest hits. We're going to wait for the Chiefs to go down, and then we're going to live bet them. And you could do like a cousin-style special. I don't know what it is on FanDuel Sportsbook right now, but you could do Eagles to win the first half and Chiefs to win the game. But right now, I think you can grab the Philadelphia Eagles plus 1.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook in the first half, and I think you would find yourself with a positive expected value wager.
Wow, I really like that, and I understand, the difficulty. I'm coming from this the same way that JJ is. I'm not ready to make a pick yet, but I know which way I'm leaning, and there are elements of this. JJ hit on one of them. When you try and slice, the individual units here and what kind of advantages each team has, what they're bringing to the table. Couple things that are noteworthy. The way that really since like week 14, week 15, this Kansas City run defense has been nowhere near the caliber that it was earlier. And a whole bunch of guys keep having very high games relative to their own performance over the course of the year. Big rushing games. Joe Mixon had a big rushing game. James Cook had a big rushing game. I think, some of us might argue that both Houston and the Buffalo Bills should have made sure those guys got even more touches because of how effective they were in the efficiency. But in terms of, how to play the thing all together, I do have a best bet already that does involve a side and a total. I'll save it until the best bet segment. But I'm not like in terms of predicting the outcome, I'm not there yet. I have a kind of bet that I like that's been one of my hallmarks over the course of these playoffs, and I'm going to go ahead and make that bet. But there are certain aspects of especially on the Kansas City side where I have things that I want answered about where they are right now. Part of the difficulty for sure, JJ, is the fact that the Eagles and the Chiefs played radically different schedules. So trying to parse the schedule, like the Eagles really had a nice, easy run of it this season. Like if you look at, the teams that they had, the number of teams off their schedule that made
two with
the
the Giants helps. We know that.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Two against Dallas helped too. I mean, they ended up catching some teams in a down mode this season, and they got healthy after the first, sort of quarter of the season where they experienced all their injuries. I mean, the blowout loss to Tampa, they didn't have anybody to put on the football field, and the Saints loss, was one of those hiccups that happens at the beginning of a football season. Fortunately, they didn't fire Sirianni, but these are the kinds of things we're trying to slice and dice, and we're trying to come up with a holistic perspective on what to do here.
So 2 years ago when they played in this Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts had unbelievable success, House. He played a great, great game. I'd make the argument, I think it's the best game I've ever seen Jalen Hurts play, quite frankly. He was
I think
on
you're
fire.
right.
I mean, I watch football every week. The Eagles have played their fair share of big games, nationally televised games. I can't think of a better game that Jalen Hurts has played in that sort of environment, in that sort of spot. He has not been that quarterback this year. Now, as you saw it in Philadelphia, he threw the ball a lot better. The biggest play in the game in the second quarter, other than some of the Washington turnovers, that 4th and 5, down the field, dropped the dime right into A.J. Brown. To me, Philadelphia's got to rely on their running game. They got to rely on Barkley. But with the way Spags is going to blitz, he's going to have to be able to hit a couple of those big plays down the field. And that, to me, is a must if Philadelphia is going to stop this repeat. We got to be talking about Jalen Hurts having that sort of positive down the field success, exploiting a blitzing defense at Kansas City. That's a must to me.
Totally agree with that.
Oh, they've been good to us. They sure have.
But I still think that number is still pretty low, and I also think you can grab some Goddard props on the alternates. I think right now, House mentioned that Goddard's prop is in the 51.5, but I think you can go alternate at plus money. I think you can get him 70 plus yards at plus 210, and I think you'd find yourself in a good position. So I agree with House. I think you're going to see more passing attempts from Jalen Hurts, but I also think Dallas Goedert is going to be the beneficiary of that.
So, Raheem, if you look at the Kansas City side of things, the divisional round, Travis Kelce was a monster. Put up insane numbers. He scored a touchdown, caught a zillion passes. He had a long reception. He was over 100 yards. He did not have the same success in the Buffalo game. Now, the Buffalo team had major liabilities at the cornerback spot. And you saw Worthy and you saw Hollywood Brown. You saw Juju Smith-Schuster go for 60-plus yards. We watched Zach Ertz go and have a monster game against that Philadelphia defense. And we know Super Bowl markets are going to be inflated. You're going to pay a tax. It's going to be not the same sort of prop numbers maybe that you get during the regular season. Dream, I think come Super Bowl time, Mahomes goes back to the well here. Ertz had success, throw to the tight end, when in doubt. You got to figure this is going to be a big Travis Kelce kind of day, right?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I think, especially with Travis Kelce getting up there in age, you have to wonder if this could be his last game. At a time where it's crucial, you got to expect that they're going to go to him. And I think, if this is his last game or, maybe his last Super Bowl, I think they're going to go all out. So I agree with you. But, one that stands out to me is Patrick Mahomes over 5.5 rushing attempts. If you look at Patrick Mahomes throughout his postseason career, we know that he runs the ball a lot more. And I think that 5.5 is very low. And then you also get the upside of the fact that kneel downs also count for rushing attempts. So I think 5.5 is it's really low. He had 11 rushing attempts last week against Buffalo, 7 the week before against Houston. So 5.5. It's at minus 138. You got to lay a little bit of juice, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze here.
There's no doubt about it. I've been on that. It was 4.5 in each of the 2 previous games. Rush attempts by Patrick Mahomes, with that number was 4.5. Those both cashed so easily. And part of the challenge in looking at the quarterback rushing props, because we were all as a group looking at quarterback rushing as a secret sauce, and we tried to play it, in a smart way. Different teams were able to cabin up some of the yards. In fact, my guy Jaden Daniels did not get to either attempts or yards in the game against Philadelphia because the game script went the way it went. But the attempts has been a rich source of cash ticket for the East Coast bias boys.
Now, this is more of a general question. House, for you specifically, with these props, Super Bowl time, is there now a juice limit for you where, Raheem's talking about minus 135, which I think we can all agree is within the limit of, hey, we're cool with this. We're all right playing it. When does it get, now I know if you're getting involved in the SGPs and you want to throw something in the SGPs, that's a different conversation. But for you, what is like the point of no return on these props? Is it 150? When does it become too rich for your liking?
I don't like to lay anything just in general at minus 175, and we'll see as this sort of plays out. If the books start toggling some of these totals and they fall into an area that I really like, I will be willing to lay juice between that minus 150 and minus 175. But anything over minus 175, I'm disinclined to mess with.
Dream, is there a general rule you have on those?
No, there isn't. I think the biggest thing is that value is value. So if you're looking at something at minus 200, that denotes that your break-even rate is 66.6% of the time. So if I project something that, should win 70, 80, 90% of the time, that minus 200 actually has juice. And one of the things that you'll see from a lot of professional bettors during the Super Bowl is that they like to play those bridge jumper props. And what I mean by bridge jumper props, let's say something like no safety. How many Super Bowls have you seen where there's no safety? And occasionally you'll have a safety in the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl, but for the most part, you're not going to get a ton of safeties. So you'll have professionals who say, you know what? I'll lay the minus 700 on no safety because I feel like I have an edge there. Now, obviously, if it loses, it hurts your pockets, but a lot of times those bridge jumper props are very popular. Let me take that back. A lot of times those bridge jumper props are very popular in the professional sports betting community.
Well, that's the sort of feedback that we need from the professional community. Although the professionals, not such a great 2024, especially early in the year, but seen a market correction these last couple weeks.